In 2008, I sat in a movie theater, quietly excited to watch the sequel to Batman Begins called The Dark Knight. I was shocked when the trailers began, and one of the trailers was for a sequel to my favorite movie at the time, Transformers, the live-action one from 2007, which I recently made a video about. The sequel is called Revenge of the Fallen. The trailer showed off new Decepticons, Autobots, and even Devastator. And I'm slightly ashamed to admit that the Transformers trailer was all I could think about during The Dark Knight, which I still enjoyed, mind you, but the image of the construction vehicles forming Devastator was burned into my brain. And my 12-year-old self was so sure that Transformers Revenge of the Fallen was going to be the best movie ever made. What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is not the best movie ever made. In fact, a lot of those auteur snobby movie types will tell you it's one of the worst movies ever made. And I'm here to tell you that they might be right. But I have a super soft spot for this movie, and especially the toy line for the movie. So I wanted to talk about both in this video. This movie is an insane hodgepodge of ideas, incredible CGI, and bad comedy. Revenge of the Fallen, or ROTF as us fans call it, is one of the most insane films ever made, and I will take it any day over boring slop like The Last Night. That being said, it's really a movie that tests you as a watcher. ROTF pulls you in with cool CGI robots fighting, and god is the CGI in this movie amazing. This is truly primo stuff. It's the type of CGI that literally makes you angry, because this movie came out in 2009, and somehow Ant-Man Quantumania was released to the public in 2023. But anyway, the incredible CGI basically functions as shiny jingling keys. And by god, the keys are jingling. I can't deny that. They're shiny as hell. But they're jingling to distract you from the terrible writing that gives a half-assed mythology about the Transformers and adapts the character of the Fallen, who was a relatively new character at the time, being introduced in the 2004 comic book War Within the Dark Ages. The movie barely parrots the lore of that series, and the entire matrix of leadership and Sun Harvester plots are bizarre. There are threads of ideas, like how Wheelie and Jetfire both switch sides, or how Megatron's lackeys are forcibly killed to revive him, while Jetfire sacrifices his own life for Optimus. In fact, the theme of combining is heavily present in the movie. Optimus and Jetfire, Devastator, the Ice Cream Truck twins, a bunch of combining is in this movie, but it's never really addressed, and there's no overall theme tying any of these ideas together. It just makes for a truly bizarre watch in my opinion, because you're presented with crazy new ideas like Transformers that can disguise as humans, but once the scene is over, it almost doesn't matter. There isn't any point of discussion to be had about something that should be mind-blowing. The Decepticons being able to disguise themselves easily among humans should be a huge problem, but the movie itself only cares about a moment, lacking any real meaning behind it. I sometimes think of the scene where Soundwave shoots Ravage down to Earth. Ravage by all means should have a cool scene here. He's trying to get the Allspark shard from a heavily protected base, but instead of attacking the base himself, he vomits out these microcons, which are teeny tiny Transformers. And once again, combining comes into it because they combine into this Mr. Game & Watch looking flat Stanley Transformer. And look, I don't hate this scene, but I also think it illustrates how weird the story choices are, especially considering the movie is basically a glorified toy commercial. Instead of giving Ravage, who has a toy, a cool scene, they give the scene to these weird little microcons, which can't even be translated into a toy, and never show up again after this scene. But on the same level, I can't help but love the absurd swings they take. Scorponok from the first movie shows up for 1 second, delivers a fatal injury to Jetfire, and then is killed 2 seconds later. There's something so funny about that to me. Like, what was Scorponok doing this whole time? Why did he choose then to strike? And the fact that Jetfire has to literally pass away to combine with Optimus. I love how this is one of like 2 times in 4 movies where Ratchet gets to actually act as a teen medic, even if it is only to direct product placement-atron to connect Optimus and Jetfire's corpse. I think there's probably 1 million more things I could talk about, but I think we should talk about the toy line now. In my last Transformers movie video, I discussed how the 2007 toy line was in a very weird transition period, where the toy designers had to struggle with engineering these very complicated designs, and many of the toys ended up much more simple looking than the actual movie designs. Hasbro really upgraded in the 2 years between these toy lines, because the Revenge of the Fallen toy line almost goes in the polar opposite direction of the 2007 film. The robot and vehicle modes are usually incredible looking, but they come at the cost of insane, sometimes incredibly frustrating transformations. Honestly, as a dumb kid who wasn't the best at the more complicated Transformers, I kinda felt dono-walled by this toy line. I would be so frustrated by the difficult transformations, and I specifically remember being so upset by Sideswipe, who was a real struggle to transform for me, and he probably spent most of the time in robot mode. For this reason, I was drawn to the smaller scale robots, the Scout class, way more. But before I talk about all that, if you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. It's the best way to help out the channel against algorithm. Also, while covering this movie and its toy line, some weird stuff has been happening with my editing software. I believe the insanity of this movie is affecting the timeline, and some multiversal entities designated as YouTubers will be popping in here and there with little to no warning, much like the plot points and characters of Revenge of the Fallen. Like the 2007 movie, there was a preview wave featuring the now iconic Bumblebee, and new to the movie universe, Soundwave. The last movie had two characters, Blackout and Frenzy, that basically acted like Soundwave, but it was good to get an official version of the character. Never mind, he only shows up for one scene and never transforms. But hey, at least we got a toy of Soundwave, which was—
So Deluxe Soundwave is actually a pretty fun figure. Maybe I'm biased because it's my favorite Transformer, and I think Satellite, like, Soundwave is a cool concept. They did a good job with the alt mode, like it looks like it does in the movie. It's just like nothing locks in at all, and you can kind of like they say like make a jet mode, but it's like just putting him on his back because you can't display it in actual satellite mode. He does have like a I love he comes with a missile launch gimmick, because I assume it's supposed to be like Ravage that he launches in the movie, but it's in the wrong place and then it just fires. I really like the robot mode just because he doesn't transform in the movie, so they gave him a lot of the extra colors you'd expect Soundwave to have, and he just looks neat as a design. He is really short, but again, he's not in the movie, so I guess that's fine. And you can still do the missile launch gimmick, but it still makes no sense because it's just a missile behind his head. Like, he has to look down and fire, which is just weird. But play features.
See, I told you, some weird stuff is happening in this video. I don't know what's going on. This is some Ghost in the Shell type stuff. I haven't seen that show, but what's happening here is probably similar. Well, since it just happened, we're probably safe for a bit. Anyway, Preview Wave Soundwave was joined by Bumblebee, who was actually just a retool of—
One of my favourite Revenge of the Fallen toys is the deluxe class of Bumblebee, probably because it's one of the only toys that's lasted this long. Still 16 years later, and it's in great condition, but this is actually a hybrid with the 2007 deluxe class, because I just liked the black colour scheme on the original 2007 than the grey scheme that Revenge of the Fallen gave us. So yeah, it doesn't match 100%, but it still transforms perfectly well, and I really do like this Revenge of the Fallen version. Even the head design is arguably better, even though it is sometimes nightmare fuel. The quality on this figure is just simply amazing. I mean, to me, it's 10 times better than the Studio series. Transformation isn't that much of a pain, though as a kid it was kind of frustrating transforming this guy. Now it's just a breeze and just takes me back to those good old days. No idea where the weapon is, but I remember that being a lot of fun as well. But what can I say, I just adored the 2009 Camaro. I think it's the best Bumblebee has ever looked, and that's why I still hold on to this figure to this day.
Dude, again? Was that guy British? Whatever, let's just move on to the rest of the toy line. I'm gonna talk about the toys of the main cast first, and we'll talk about the expanded cast of characters later. In Scout class, there were only two movie characters. One was Scalpel, who was the little Decepticon doctor. He's a nasty little monster in the movie, and I actually had this toy as a kid. I thought Scalpel turning into a microscope was really cool, and it's pretty interesting considering Perceptor from G1 also turned into a microscope, so now there's two Transformers in the multiverse with the same kind of specific alt mode. Scalpel is a weird shrimp looking dude, and the toy translates this design fairly well. Scalpel's robot mode actually ends up being pretty close to life size. The other Transformer is Ejector, Sam's toaster brought to life by the Allspark shard. Toaster has to be one of the most unique alt modes, though this being a Scout class, Ejector is very small, and his toaster mode is even smaller, so no real bread cooking action sadly. But this toy is so awesome because while the alt mode is a static little toaster, Ejector in robot mode is a little gremlin. He's got such an expressive face sculpt for a movie toy, and I love the 4 arms look. He looks like a vicious little raccoon or something. Moving up to deluxe class, but keeping in theme with small characters, we have Wheelie. God, Wheelie. I could write a college thesis on Wheelie. He's almost like the anti-Baby Yoda. Instead of a cute little companion, Wheelie is a rabid little dog, in more ways than one. That being said, I had his deluxe class toy and I really liked him. His RC truck mode is super adorable and super out of scale, so I would often pretend he was a real monster truck, and I would put my Lego minifigures in the truck bed. When he transforms, he spreads out into the super lanky robot. Even though he doesn't really tab together at all, I really like playing with him, especially with his very emotive eyes. For the last movie, Hasbro made an RC based on concept art, and the design was really awesome. To this day, it might be my favorite take on a live-action RC. And while they were scared to put a woman Transformer in the first one, Michael Bay broke all expectations by including 3 female Transformers: RC, Chromia, and Elita 1, who are not actually individuals but a hive mind being just referred to as RC. They were apparently supposed to combine at some point, but this was scrapped, so instead they do nothing in the movie. Only 2 of the 3 sisters got toys in the line. Chromia or Blue RC is fine. There's nothing super wrong with the figure. It's a weird design, but that's kind of the movie universe's thing. I do like Chromia's blue a lot, and I think she in general looks better than RC, who—
Jake, I blame you for this, and we're enemies now. Part of the 5th wave of deluxe class figures, RC is based on her appearance with the Ducati alt mode. So far, it's fine. I like the highlighter pink, the tattoos that were weirdly a thing. The shape is okay. Stop looking at me. She has a kickstand, or you could plug the gun to the side. It looks too big, but I mean, look at her. What scale is this? Transformation is a disaster. I have to guess how the body swerves around, and I never know if I got it right. Like, why does the shoulder even open? This is pure body horror. She has one leg with the roller skate, and she's just lifted from the intestines. There's multiple joints, but you kind of need her to lean to one side. The panels on the arms are ugly. The other one doesn't pose well, and just yuck. Remember when they dropped out of the combiner gimmick? The sad part is, all the functions seem to work. The rolling wheel, the additional pop-out blade, the opening chest, I like that on the woman, and the head sculpt is fine. She slips into her twin-barrel slipper, but you can add it to the arm if you wasn't busy enough. At least Chromia looks somewhat solid. I don't blame the designers. This is a mess that even Studio Series couldn't fix. Somehow they skipped the first movie design for this. Revenge of the Fallen had some pretty solid figures, an incredible line, various expanded characters. I loved it as a kid. And then there's this. My point? Get Thrust or Recon Ironhide instead. I don't want to get people mad if you like this design. I mean, that's fine. It just means you're wrong and maybe stupid.
Sadly, Elita 1 didn't get a toy until a year later in the Hunt for the Decepticons line. The Studio Series versions of these characters actually did include the combining mode, so props to Hasbro for that deep cut, even if the combined mode is just a mess. Ravage is kinda like the Scorponok of this movie. He has a really cool beast robot mode and a completely made up alt mode. In Ravage's case, he turns into the missile that Soundwave shoots out, so pretty boring. That being said, the transformation is still more involved than you would think. Remember, this is a Revenge of the Fallen toy. Man, I love that robot mode. The cycloptic eye stands out a lot, and his hip guns just look so sick. Not to mention the badass spikes that are lining his spine. The only deluxe Constructicon is Rampage, who—
When someone ties me to a chair and puts a blaster to the side of my battle cranium and asks me to talk about a Revenge of the Fallen toy, a scary situation that absolutely only hypothetically happened this week, one can look to the icons and the classics, but my mind often drifts back to the Wave 1 Deluxes, where YouTube was young and eBay was filled with suspicious loose copies of Sideways and Sideswipe. That's why I want to dish on Rampage, the Deluxe Constructicon, the pre-release multimodal fascination who frankly delivered twice as hard as any Bulldozer bot did on screen or in future toy lines, even over a decade later. Rife with the budgetary riches that would define a lot of the Revenge of the Fallen line, both Rampage's vehicular and now-known Pogo Legs modes sure were neat, especially the spring-powered pneumatic features found therein, but the real highlight was something that would go on to disappear. What many of us assumed at the time would be his real robot mode, and something most likely designed so the toy could remain standing on a surface without assistance. Treadwhips McCracken, as my friend Seth often called him, simply oozed with a characterful inhumanity that remains uniquely in the realm of the exploded metal shard aesthetic of the old live-action films, and captured my imagination on sight back in 2009. Almost crustacean-like with his quadrupedal crab legs and industrial glob of rearward protuberance, Rampage caught eyes with his melee armaments but touched hearts with the raw, bestial nature of his four-footed silhouette. It felt like a level of design that better understood the Shrapnel Man vibe of the movie Decepticons, and had many of us wondering if all of the Constructicons would entirely eschew being average bipedal mechanoids. In 2025, we obviously know that a whole bunch of them are just funny-looking bipedal mechanoids. Screen accuracy be damned, because excising this awesome mode from the Studio Series version robbed it of all its swagger. I hope a concept series return lies somewhere on the horizon for the cuddly, scuttling steward of the live-action Constructicons.
We'll talk more about the Constructicons in a second, trust me. Skids and Mudflap are twin robots that are meant to be the comedic relief of the movie, but they come off as regressive racist stereotypes. To be honest, I never really liked either of them, not because of the racial stereotyping, which flew right over my head as a kid, but because they start the movie as a combining ice cream truck, and then one scene later, they switch to some paid promotion cars, which annoyed me to no end as a kid, because they literally do nothing in ice cream truck form. Why did they even do it? Why even design those models for one scene in the movie? I guess we got a cool toy out of it at least, which is...
I've chosen to talk about Skids and Mudflap, specifically in their combined ice cream truck form. As a kid, I thought this was just the coolest idea imaginable. I remember going on a walk with my parents on the bike path, making like a hard sell about why they should buy me this toy when I was like the ripe age of 9. I can't get them apart. Help! Help! Okay, I got him. I remember like following tutorials online to make like a Lego version of this. I guess I was just really drawn towards racism from a young age. Look, his head is now visible. What I like about this one is you can just have it be the front of a truck with a head. Something that's embarrassing to admit is that I do get legitimately stumped by the transformations of these children's deluxe class toys, which I've owned for years, by the way. This is good enough. This one is called Skids. He was voiced by Tom Kenny, and he's racist. This one is called Mudflap. Let me get rid of that. To transform it, the steps are that you're just gonna want to transform it. I think it's funny that in the movie they have all this language on the side of their vehicle, like suck my popsicle, but they couldn't put that on the toy because this is for kids. But that movie was like a fucking commercial for the toy for kids. It's just very funny to think about. They advertised Revenge of the Fallen on Nickelodeon, and that's how I became aware of the Transformers franchise. And that is just so clearly not a film that should have been advertised on Nickelodeon. I think this is missing its head. I actually have no clue where that is. There should definitely be a head here. I'm learning live on camera that it's nowhere to be found. Look, I don't care. This is good enough. This is the robot mode. This is the robot mode of the hit character Mudflap, and I don't remember who voices him because he was not Tom Kenny. I think it's absolutely hilarious. Like, of all the characters in the entire Michael Bay universe, the one character I would, like, want a revised toy of the most is probably Skids and Mudflap as an ice cream truck. But through sheer bad luck, these are the only characters that they refused to remake because they were racist. It's such a good design. It's two little dudes who become an ice cream truck. I think that's hilarious and comically unfortunate that that's how the cookie had to crumble. But I love them so much. Skids and Mudflap, these are peak. It's very unfortunate that they're racist. I like how they're pink and they're white and they're an ice cream truck. I hope that this video was of any use to you whatsoever, because I'm pretty sure everything I just filmed is utterly incomprehensible.
Damn it, Kian, I wanted to talk about that. Whatever, it was a cool toy. I never had either Skids or Mudflap's deluxe class toys, and looking at them now, I'm glad I didn't. They serve as great examples of the strongest and weakest points of this line. Both have fantastic little vehicle modes, and robot modes are so close to screen accurate that it's crazy, but they both have transformations that seem overcomplicated, with really fiddly sections that never quite click in the first time. I really couldn't see some of these transformation techniques being used in current day, and I'm really split on whether or not that's a good or a bad thing. Also, they have this funny gimmick where their heads bob if you press in their chests. Character that definitely exists, Jolt, actually had a pretty cool toy. This guy was a last minute addition to the movie. He literally exists to advertise the car he turns into, and I feel like his toy reflects that, with a great vehicle mode and a somewhat undercooked robot mode. I have to wonder if the Jolt toy was kind of rushed because he was added late in production. He certainly doesn't have the complexity one would expect from this line, but for a Nothing Burger character, it seems like a nice toy. The last two deluxe class toys of the main cast are Sideways and Sideswipe, who...
Hi Jake, I've picked Human Alliance Bumblebee, and I think this thing looks awesome in robot mode. I can't believe I even got this thing. I got this thing over in Japan. It was bloody awesome.
You go to 60s day. Clear a path, clown. What? Well, look at me. I'm Sideways, and I'm like way freaking cooler than this jerk. Oh, you want to see dancing pigs? Oh, hell no. No one's better than me. I'm Sideswipe. I'm sleek and silver. And I've got these babies. How you like that, little fella? You've got wheels for feet. Oh, yeah, well, at least I had a line in the movie. I hate you!
And that's why I reckon the Human Alliance Bumblebee is just the best Revenge of the Fallen figure. For its time, for 2009, this is an absolute banger of a figure. It's yellow, it's friggin' awesome looking, it comes with Sam Wiki as well. I feel like everyone should try and get one of these things, you know? Like, it's an absolute gem of a figure.
Oh my god! No witnesses!
The Voyager class hosts a bunch of repainted toys from the first movie, which in my opinion is fine, given this movie only came out 2 years later. But we did get a big improvement for Starscream. While I love his first movie toy, I can't deny that ROTF Starscream, both his design and toy, are much better than the 2007 version. I really like his new Cybertronian tattoos. It gives his design a little extra something, and since he isn't really treacherous in the movies, it makes sense to me that they leaned into him being a Decepticon devotee, working for the Fallen and reviving Megatron once he has an Allspark shard. So in my mind, his tattoos reflect that dedication to the cause. This new Voyager is such an upgrade from the first one. The vehicle mode is especially kind of incredible. We don't often get realistic jets with such good proportioning. Besides the super obvious hands at the back, you can hardly tell it transforms. The robot mode is also much better. He actually has hands now, though some parts of the robot don't lock in. A few Constructicons also got Voyager class toys. Demolishor was the first Revenge of the Fallen toy I saw online. I've always wanted him, but looking at him now, he's definitely aged poorly. There are some cool ideas, and I especially like the way his treads collapse to form wheels, even though that means you can't really roll him at all. Demolishor is joined by Longhaul, who I have to admit is one of my least favorite movie Decepticons. I don't really like his look or color, and looking back I don't really like his toy either. Just look at all the kibble that hangs above his head. How weird is that? I do appreciate that the dump truck bed actually raises up though. If you're going to turn into a construction vehicle, you should do base level construction vehicle things. Mixmaster is the last Voyager Constructicon. I had this guy as a kid and he was like a raid boss when it came to transforming him. And I gotta be honest, I think I lost the raid. I think my team wiped because I only remember playing with him a couple times. I just found turning him back into a truck to be way too difficult and frustrating. But I do love his look and vibe, and I've always been a fan based on the name Mixmaster alone. The main villain of the movie, the Fallen, got a Voyager class toy, which is surprising given he's the main villain. You would think he'd get a bigger toy, but honestly, I'm glad they gave him a smaller one. I don't really like the character besides his voice, rest in peace Tony Todd, and the toy prioritizes his robot mode since he didn't actually transform in the movie, which totally makes sense in a movie called Transformers. Moving on to leader class, which is for large Transformers, we have 3 figures. Let's start with Megatron, who got a brand new look in this movie. This design to me really is 2007 Megatron but good. He feels a bit closer to his original G1 character now, and they actually gave him a fusion cannon, which is nice. Unfortunately, the leader class toy based on this design might be the worst figure in the line. For some reason, Megatron feels like he's stuck in 2007. He's still a brick, and he's actually got less articulation now. Also, they've given him like the smallest arm ever. This might have been a concept art thing that got changed, but all I can think about when I look at it is the grab my strong arm bit from Scary Movie 2. too. His tank mode is chubby and cute, but much like 2007 Megatron, he feels like a toy where you really need nostalgia to actually love it. Jetfire turns into this incredible looking Blackbird jet, though he does have a ton of kibble under the plane. It just looks awesome regardless. The robot mode for this geezer is less impressive. He looks okay, but he lacks the depth and dimension of his movie model. He does have a Skids and Mudflap style talking gimmick though. Unfortunately, Jetfire feels more like a toy designed to be spare parts for the last Leader Class Transformer we'll be talking about, Optimus Prime. While the whole Revenge of the Fallen toy line was way more complicated than the 2007 toys, the ROTF Leader Class Optimus Prime brought a new level of engineering to the toy line, and I think it genuinely created a new genre of Transformers fan, the type of fan that craves a challenge and wants a stronger puzzle experience from these toys. And to be clear, I know Masterpiece Transformers already existed at the time, but Optimus was even more challenging than those. I really don't know if I can express how important this guy is to a non-Transformers fan. I guess I could say something like Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime is like the statue of David for the fandom. Does that work? And as you would expect, Leader Class Jetfire can combine with Optimus, giving him this really badass super mode look, though he loses a lot of his posability in the process. But this super mode really was just icing on like the best cake ever. This toy worthy of sainthood isn't the final movie character toy though. We still have to talk about Supreme Class Devastator, which might be the most disappointing Transformers toy ever. Remember how I was saying I could only think about Devastator after watching the first trailer? That persisted for a long time. I really love this Devastator design. I love the scene of him combining so much, and the toy line set a precedent for insane feats of engineering. So I was deeply excited to see how Hasbro would tackle a combining Devastator toy, and unfortunately they did it in the lamest way possible. Supreme Class Devastator's individual parts do not have robot modes, so he could transform but only into separate vehicles. And in 2009, to me this was a slap in the face. How could they show me the coolest thing ever in a movie and not even attempt to recreate it with the toy? The explanation I've always heard is that since the Constructicons turn into Devastator from vehicle mode, and some of the Constructicons are clearly seen on the battlefield while Devastator is combined, that means there's actually two sets of Constructicons. One set that doesn't combine and have robot modes, and another set that are just vehicle drones that form Devastator. I have no idea if what I just said is a fan theory, but I distinctly remember reading it and thinking that is the dumbest reasoning ever. I think truthfully, the reason Supreme Class Devastator is like this is because he's way too hard to adapt into real life, and giving the vehicles robot modes would complicate and probably weaken the structure of the toy. Heck, look at Studio Series Devastator, over 10 years later and it's still a mess to put together. While I hated this toy when I was younger, looking back now, he looks really fun. The construction vehicles look nice and chunky, fun to roll around, and the robot mode looks like it would have been a hoot with my Lego minifigures. I think I would give this toy another chance in the modern day. Okay, so that was the main cast of the movie, so we're going to move on to toy-only characters. But before that, if you're enjoying this video and you want to support me past liking and subscribing, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. For $1 a month, both give you the same thing: access to my super chill private Discord community and a member-exclusive series of videos called Toy Dives, where I look at random toy lines, like the line for Mega Man NT Warrior, a cartoon based on the video game Mega Man Battle Network. While the cast of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen was greatly expanded from the 2007 movie, the toy line still needed more characters to fill it out, so new toy-only characters were made, though some came from the video game adaptation of the movie, like Dead End, who is this adorable Scout class car. It looks like a single-seater car and it has an exposed engine in the back. He's pretty cartoonish in vehicle mode, but he looks like a little gremlin in robot mode. The Scout class for Revenge of the Fallen is pretty amazing, mostly for the variety of different alt modes. We already talked about a toaster and a microscope, but we also have Ransack, who turns into an old-timey biplane. I had this guy as a kid and I absolutely loved him. Something was so cool about a Transformer that turns into a biplane to me. And I really like how realistic the alt mode looks as well. His look makes me think he was probably hanging out with Jetfire at some point. Also, I love how the plane engine ends up as a little hat for him. We also got the rare boat former in the way of Depth Charge. He turns into the most adorable little battleship, and he has really big feet. This is his battle mode, where I'm guessing he functions like a boat and can still travel over water while fighting. Finally, the coolest scout has to be Dirt Boss, who literally turns into a forklift. Finally, forklift certified transformer. This is so cool. I feel like we should have way more forklift transformers. Dirt Boss is interesting because he came out around the same time Transformers Animated was airing, and there was a Constructicon in the show named Dirt Boss that also turned into a forklift. So this Revenge of the Fallen figure is a weird reference to Transformers Animated, which is awesome, but it is frustrating that animated Dirt Boss himself didn't get a toy. I actually have a repaint of Dirt Boss named Deadlift. This guy is bright orange as a reference to the GoBot character Spoons. This mold is so fun. Just having a little forklift feels so unique. I will say he's super fiddly, and he's never quite locked into place in vehicle mode, and he surprisingly has aura in robot mode. I especially like his forklift knife hands, or sword hands if you're from the UK. Another video game only character got a toy. He's called Breakaway in
Revenge of the Fallen Breakaway. When Dumb Jake asked me to talk about a Revenge of the Fallen toy, I wanted to talk about one I've never talked about yet, and that's ROTF Breakaway. You may be thinking to yourself, J4 Breakaway wasn't in Revenge of the Fallen. He was in the PS2 video game. He was in this, so he counts. But honestly, I really wish he was in the movie, because Autobot planes are so rare, and look at this guy. His deco, his design is just super, super cool. This is one slick jet mode. And he's got nice little landing gear, and he's got underside toes. But most importantly, he has his face in the cockpit. Hello, mate. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm in the cockpit. But don't worry, it gets weirder. The transformation on this guy is honestly a lot of fun, and it's something that I haven't really seen out of a jet former. And you'll really see why with this bot mode. Because look at his face. It's literally in the cockpit. Like, it's stuck in there. Look at that, he's in there. Something about the sunken head and the big wings on the shoulders and the proportions, it's just so early Michael Bay Transformers, and I love him for that. His articulation's pretty decent too, and hey, he's got a little bit of mech alive, check it out. If you don't have ROTF Breakaway, I highly suggest you go ahead and track one down, but hey, he might get a Studio Series figure. I mean, he was in a video game, he kinda counts, but if you're looking for classic ROTF toy goodness, Breakaway is, I guess he's your man. I mean, look at him. Do you want him to be your man? I do.
We also had Blaze Master, which would be a sick name for a Transformer that loves ganja. He turns into a news helicopter, which is actually really cool, though I don't love the colors. His robot mode is, interesting, very ostrich-like. Much like Allspark Power from the 07 movie, there was a refresh for the Revenge of the Fallen toy line called Nest Global Alliance. One of the new toys introduced in this line was Brawn, who looks pretty close to his G1 counterpart, at least close for Bavers. He's just lucky he got his usual green and gold colors. He has badass aura, and the head sculpt reminds me of Doom Guy. We got a repaint of Stockade from the first movie. This version is called Gears.
Hi chat, so for my figure I picked Autobot Gears, a figure who certainly is. If you're wondering why I picked him, it's because, he's my only one. Gears has some really fun proportions in robot mode. Gorilla arms, short legs, and a wide chest. Honestly, these really work for me. He's like a charming short guy, and something about that just does it for me. He's also got a really nice head sculpt, like, they cooked. Granted, Gears is a redeco of a 2007 toy, so really it isn't even his, but I like it. Shut up. I can't lie, I really like his alt mode. I'm a real sucker for when Transformers actually look like something that you'd see on the road, and aside from his distractingly large Autobot symbol with his namesake behind it, this is like a normal car. I could totally imagine driving behind this in a McDonald's parking lot and seeing some soccer mom reaching out to grab a Happy Meal from the window. So yeah, Gears. I like his movie toy jank. Also, his leg comes off.
We also had Deluxe Lockdown, which is another Transformers animated character that got the movie treatment. Lockdown is one of the coolest characters from animated. He's a mercenary bounty hunter that steals upgrades from his enemies. And even though I'm an animated fanboy till the day I die, I have to say I think that the Revenge of the Fallen toy is actually better. They both have really similar elements, and the movie version really does feel like Lockdown with a Bayverse filter on, but it really, really works. And the articulation on this guy is amazing. They even gave him neck joints, which literally shocked me. That is so cool and makes a figure so expressive. Plus, I like the car roof as his chest way more. This Lockdown just looks fantastic. Moving on to Voyagers, one of my favorites was Stratosphere, who is based on the plane from the beginning of the movie. And he even comes with a little Optimus to represent.
Stratosphere does not feel like a Revenge of the Fallen toy. He feels like a missing link between 07 and Revenge of the Fallen, with far more solid construction, more bulky proportions, and an easier transformation. His face has always made me think of Shiftry from Pokemon. Very colorful and yet something intimidating about it, as though this guy is well-meaning but ultimately a monster deep down. The body is lanky but still powerful looking. The gray, the beige, the orange, it gives a unique deco that still feels realistic. That said, if you want, he can always give birth to Optimus Prime. So, Stratosphere is great. He's big, he's powerful, he's colorful, he has a ton of great detail. Why can't I recommend Stratosphere? Well, unfortunately, all of this beauty comes at a cost. These legs have such a cool look to them, well, until you realize they start to crack real easily. Though our time together might not be going much longer, I am happy that Stratosphere has been such a big part of my collecting life. He is amazing.
Bludgeon is a really badass toy. He's based on the G1 character, which was actually a pretender, meaning he was a transformer that hid in a human disguise, or in Bludgeon's case, a human-like disguise. Bludgeon presented himself as a samurai with a human skull face, which is really badass. The Revenge of the Fallen toy kinda mixes Bludgeon's transformer and pretender forms, with his robot mode representing his pretender shell samurai look, while his vehicle mode is a green tank like his G1 toy. It's kind of brilliant, and Bludgeon's face even mimics a human skull look, though in a Bayverse style. I love that his sword can be sheathed into the tank turret. That is so fun. The star of Voyager class has to be mine.
Greetings, Cybertronians. I'm Dr. Lockdown, and I'm coming to you in PNG tuber form because my phone broke and I didn't have anything to film this section with. My apologies. I never had Mindwipe and Skystalker as a child. I always wanted Mindwipe at the very least, ever since watching the Cyber Missions cartoon. Last word of that in a bajillion quotation marks.
No! Must block it. Out.
I sadly never saw either locally, though. I saw Stray from the 2010 Hunt for the Decepticons line the next year, but it looked really daft. I sure do love Games Workshop Grey. It was only when I was slowly getting back into collecting as an adult that I finally had access to it. A friend of mine, Cliff B, was basically giving the vast majority of his non-G1 collection away, and I must have walked away with a suitcase full of shit. I do not deserve Mindwipe, RTS Lugnut, and Revenge of the Fallen Pterodai for free, but somehow, here we are. And yeah, he absolutely holds up to the hype I had as a kid. It's not just the nostalgia of longing. They do have the sauce. His smaller buddy is a wonderful pocket-sized drone fellow. A little bit fiddly, but still a pretty cool mono-eyed design. Honestly, it's a real shame we don't get more drone transformers these days. One's not of the commercial ilk like Twitch. Part of me understands why with the current state of the world, but designs like these are really rad. But the real star of the show is easily Mindwipe. A design so badass that it's fully supplanted the G1 rendition as my definitive take on the character. The head is brilliantly sculpted like something out of one of the DS games. Meanwhile, the torso almost feels like a Cybertron figure at times, in the best of ways. Coupled with some awesome mecha live in the wings, and fantastic flip-out knives formed from the cockpit, this becomes one of the best Voyagers of the past couple decades. Even the articulation is fantastic, not just for the time either. Wild they were able to add a waist swivel back then. And the alt mode comes together insanely well. Almost a mashup of animated and movieverse. Man's out here combining all the best elements of the 2000s. Bastards are victory lap of the whole thing. Adore the deco, adore the tattoo tamper graphs, adore the sharpness, adore the conversion it took to get here. Adore practically everything about it. And if that wasn't cool enough, him and Skystalker are basically companion pieces. So they actually combine. Sort of. It's really not anything particularly special, and either figure still works great without it. But still, awesome feature. It's very reminiscent of G2 Dreadwing. Matter of fact, Takara actually redecoed this into a Wonderfest exclusive. Have been tempted to get it, but I already have the original G2, so I'm not sure I need to double dip, so to speak. But regardless, Mindwipe is a fantastic fulfillment of a promise from over a decade and a half ago. Skystalker is also pretty cool, but not the main event by any means. Still, if you're a fan of old movie toys, or a fan of original designs untethered by almost half a century of character precedent, these two are ones you won't be disappointed with.
Was that guy a doctor? Legends class is the smallest size class, but instead of new characters, these are tiny versions of the characters from the movie. For example, Bumblebee, who got a major upgrade from his 2007 Legends toy. I can't lie, I kind of like Skids and Mudflap as Legends better. They look like they would be more derpy and less annoying. Jetfire kinda looks better to me than his leader class toy. He's got that proper hunched look, and they even molded Jetfire's cane onto his arm, and he can combine with...
Hey guys, Larry here. Do you remember this thing? Cause I do. I remember it a lot. This is Revenge of the Fallen Legends class Optimus Prime. Just a tiny little Optimus Prime to put in your pocket, and it's just, look at him. He's just so gosh darn neat. He's better than what they did in 07 by a lot. The paint on this is pretty minimal, obviously for such a little thing, but hey, guess what? They made like 50 of these things with different paint schemes, so if this one doesn't tickle your fancy, don't worry. They got one for you. The transformation on the guy is not that hard because, well, he's a small little Legends class, and what you end up with is such a nice little representation of Optimus's truck. Yeah, there's a lot of silver here and there that's not accurate, but for what you got, pretty nice little guy. And I think one of the coolest little things that they did was that if you owned the Legends Jetfire from Revenge of the Fallen, you could plug it in. That's just so cool.
Megatron continues his streak of bad Legends figures. His blaster arm is so thin, and his other arm just looks like a tube. The Fallen is another one where I kinda like the Legends more. At least this version of his made-up vehicle mode looks slightly more coherent. Soundwave is really cool. Unlike his deluxe toy, he actually transforms into a satellite similar to the one in the movie. And I really like his robot mode with those classic Soundwave colors. He looks like a little gentleman. Wheelie got a Legends class figure, which is really funny. This version also really works for me, and he would actually scale pretty well with the leader class figures in the line. To top off the Revenge of the Fallen Legends class, we got a Walmart exclusive multi-pack with 7 new Transformers, the Constructicons. And these Transformers could not only transform to robot and vehicle modes, but could actually combine into Devastator. Yes, the only way we got a proper Devastator was the tiny Legends class version. Some of these characters literally did not get any toys besides these until 10 years later. They aren't perfect, but for their size, I have to say it's an incredible set. And I love Mini Devastator with all my heart. It's very much a holy grail set for me. There was a second version of the set where they were redecoed into G1 Constructicon colors, which is cute and kind of neat to see, but man, the original set still blows my mind to this day. With Revenge of the Fallen came a whole new subline of toys called Human Alliance. Human Alliance is kind of legendary in the fandom, because to my knowledge, it's the only line of Transformers designed to hold action figures as passengers, which is not only an insanely cool idea, but the concept really pushed the designers. And Human Alliance really does feel like the pinnacle of ROTF era engineering. The action figures themselves are pretty weak, with just okay likenesses, and they're about 2 inches tall. The Transformers themselves are a little bigger than Voyager class. I kinda wish the humans were G.I. Joe size, but that would require the Transformers to be even bigger. Not that I'm complaining, but it would be unrealistic to expect a whole subline to be that size. The Camaro mode is stunning. It's crazy to me that they even put a little steering wheel in the interior. And his robot mode looks super screen accurate. Maybe a little bit stiff, but at the time, this would be the best Bumblebee figure you could get. He even has a flip down battle mask, which is so cool. I love that he has a port on his hand to hold Sam, and Sam can also sit right above his blaster, which is not where I would sit personally, but no judgment. Sideswipe is one of those characters that has a lot of fans, even though he's only had like 3 lines in the entire Bayverse saga, but damn, he's good. As in, he has a good, if not great design, and the Human Alliance figure of him is perfection. I feel like this is such a wonderful translation, even though he ends up with a huge backpack. Sideswipe comes with Sergeant Epps, whose legs are really long and awkward looking. Sideswipe's Corvette mode is so amazing. This toy is truly a love letter to this car, and the fact that it can look so good and transform blows me away. Skids and Mudflap also got Human Alliance toys, and these are easily their best toys ever. Mudflap comes with Agent Simmons and Chromia. Both he and Skids come with RC sisters because they're a bit smaller than regular Human Alliance figures. Simmons looks kind of cursed, and Chromia looks cool with her metallic blue. Mudflap is my favorite of the twins, probably because he talks less, but I do like his vehicle mode more. I just never get tired of watching the car doors open and seeing the interior of these toys. It truly blows my mind that Hasbro stopped doing this line. And not to mention Skids, who
Hey there, you sexy bastards. If it's not obvious enough, I love Transformers. I really love Transformers. But the first Transformers movie I ever saw was Transformers 2. Yeah, that one. The one with this guy in it, and his twin brother, but I don't have his twin brother because no thank you, I'm not paying $300! So luckily, I found this guy on sale because he was like $40, and he was complete with the Michaela action figure and this shrimp-looking motorcycle robot, where the f this is. So this is my favorite Revenge of the Fallen figure from when they made the movie and like when they made the toys. They had these specific ones called the Human Alliance figures. They had Bumblebee, they had Sideswipe, and then they had the expensive one. So the gimmick of these guys was that you get your little action figure that it came with, and then you shove them inside of the car. Get in. Get the in. Shit, me when I'm kidnapping your girl. But that's not all. He has a bunch of cool little features. You can shoot this cool blaster that he has in his hand that kind of looks like a, you know. And because of the Human Alliance gimmick, you can have Megan Fox sit right here. Lord, if only she was sitting on my face. And he also has a head gun. I don't know, maybe Michael Bay wanted a scene where he gunned down some Decepticons with this head gun. I don't know. But one of the best features of this guy is that he has a talking feature. Whoa! Just press the whatever that thing is on his head and then just have him say such iconic lines from the film.
Why don't you get a haircut with your bitch ass? Hey, Mudflap, what are we gonna do with this shrimp taco? Oh, look at this mother... Oh, man, you shot me in the face!
But anyways, yeah, that's my favorite Revenge of the Fallen toy figures from the movie line. I wanted to do Optimus Prime, but someone took Optimus Prime already. Someone already took my f***ing spot. I wanted Optimus Prime!
Without a doubt, these are the best figures of the twins. And if we're never going to get Studio Series versions, you can probably settle for these. Finally, we have Human Alliance Barricade, which is an interesting pick because he's not really in Revenge of the Fallen, and instead of a human, he comes with Frenzy, just like his 2007 figure, which I had back in the day. In fact, just like that figure, Frenzy can store in his chest. I had no idea this Human Alliance figure even existed, to be honest, and I'm sitting here learning that it's basically a masterpiece remake of my favorite childhood Decepticon toy. It does look like Barricade is giving birth to Frenzy though. As expected, the vehicle mode is perfect, and Frenzy can also sit in the passenger seat if you want. Robot mode looked sharp. He's not the most accurate, but still very close, especially considering he has a car interior the designers needed to work around. And also you can make his mouth move, which is funny. We'll talk about Human Alliance on the channel way more in the future, but it really does feel weird to me that Hasbro abandoned such a great idea. And I wonder if we'll see anything like it ever again. Revenge of the Fallen may be a monster mash of ideas, but I think we as a fandom have accepted it, flaws and all. And the badass toy line probably helped with that. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to support me further, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. For $1 a month, both platforms give you the same thing. Access to my private Discord server where we do monthly movie nights and weekly Toku nights, and weekly exclusive videos called Toy Dives where I talk about a random toy line. As a reminder, I also now have merch. Check out the link in the description to get your very own Dumb Jake shirt, hoodie, or sticker. And I do want to shout out each YouTuber that helped me out with this video. So thank you, and shout out to Thomas Jujubee, who is a Kamen Rider / Tokusatsu YouTuber that likes Transformers. I just met him through Tokusatsu, so I asked him to join this. Thank you to Komodin Cam. Did you guys know that Komodin means Joker in Spanish? I didn't. I thought it was some like Russian cosmonaut type thing, but no. Komodin Cam is British and he has a Spanish username. Also, shout out to T-Fanpage 101. He's an OG in the community. I used to do a podcast with him. He's one of my good buddies in the community, and you know, he's like one of the most positive people out there, so shout out to him. Shout out to Vangelis. Vangelis is an OG. T-Fanpage is an OG, but Vangelis is an OG. You know, he comes from TFW 2005 era of internet Transformers, and I grew up watching his reviews, so it's super cool to have him involved on this project. Shout out to Kian Carlisle, the Transformers animated expert himself. It was kind of just a random swing to see if he would have any Transformers Revenge of the Fallen knowledge or interest, and turns out he did. So thank you, Kian, for joining. Really appreciate you. And shout out to MP Cons. MP Cons has to to have probably my favorite of the submissions of the little, I call them transmissions, all the little reviews that I put in from all these different people. He has to have my favorite because not only did he submit his first, he did full stop motion animation for his, and that shouldn't be surprising. MP Cons does stop motion animation. That's his main thing on YouTube. You guys should check out his work. At some point, I gotta stream his like movie series because I think that would be fun to watch along. But MP Cons is a stop motion guy, and I messaged him not with the idea that he would do stop motion. I was just looking for people's like childhood memories and thoughts on these toys. But he went the extra mile and made a really incredible short little animation. I think he should definitely upload it somewhere else after this video goes up because it just is so funny. I've watched it like 10 different times. Also, shout out to JCC2224. I've been talking to this guy for a long time. He's one of the first people that I connected with over YouTube, and I love his reviews. He's got a great style of reviewing. Very classic point and shoot, but his thoughts are always like super clear, and he always has super clear opinions. So yeah, I love JCC. Shout out to MRC, who is fairly new to the scene. She's more in the realm of like shorts Transformers reviewing, which is something I've been getting more and more into. If you watch my shorts, I've been doing a lot of shorts recently. So I like watching other shorts creators and seeing what they do. So shout out MRC. Shout out Ronbon Dujan, who makes the Mini Toys of series. He's got a really interesting voice. I do think he's kind of newer. I don't know. Maybe we're like similar. Like I'm kind of newer also in the grand scheme, to be clear. But I think he might be kind of new as well. I really enjoy his videos and the cadence of his voice. Shout out Dr. Lockdown. I love this Australian. Probably gives the best analytical reviews from the land down under. Really appreciate him being able to even send anything with his phone being broken and all. That was unfortunate, but I'm glad it worked out and I'm glad he got on this video. Shout out to Larry Hankins. I know Larry through T-Fan page, and Larry has a great sense of humor, and he's really good at doing smiling friends voices, and it cracks me up every time. And finally, shout out to Stinky Blue Rat / Crisp Rat. He's probably one of my newest online friends, and I really enjoy talking to him. He's really funny. His videos are really funny. I didn't watch any of his videos before I met him, but I've become a big fan in the time since, and me and my girlfriend actually like to watch his videos a lot because they're just so short and funny, and yeah, he delivers quality every time. Sincerely, thank you to all of those collaborators, and let me know if you want me to include guests like this more often. I've been apprehensive of having guests in the past, but this was really fun, so I'm interested to hear what you thought about it because I'm so close, like I'm gonna enjoy it no matter what, you know what I mean? Alright y'all, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.